gaze is shifted upwards to the sky.
Hey goblins, and welcome back. We've missed you all very much. This is Jordan, and I'm an introject and protector in the Aether system. If you're new here, this is a channel about dissociative identity disorder. It may seem as though recently we had just gone quiet, sitting around and not doing much, but that couldn't be further from the truth. 2020 and 2021 have been completely chaotic and full of unexpected twists and turns. The entirety of the time we spent offline was spent on an extensive and intensive self-reparation and restoration. Our entire inner world changed and hundreds of fragments have fused together. Thank you for all your concern and well wishes. We saw and heard them, and they helped us continue on with our path. And we want to reassure you all that we're not going to be leaving this earth in an untimely fashion. We're working very hard to restore our health more and more each day. We got a new primary care doctor who's actually nearby, and she's helping us get all the referrals to the things we need, although we could definitely use an update with the anxiety meds because, oh my god, the anxiety. Our physical health was a lot more complex than it looked on the surface. It wasn't just us refusing to eat for the sake of looks or numbers on a scale. It was a combination of our stomach pain preventing us from eating, alters punishing each other, keeping each other frozen in terror, punishing themselves, and literally not knowing how to eat without breathing things into our lungs. A lot of that behavior was due to programming, and a lot of alters weren't consciously doing these things, which meant we really couldn't be that angry at them or blame them fully for what they were doing on the inside, because a lot of them were still trying to keep us safe because they didn't know that we weren't still in the past. So gaining weight back like we have is a pretty big accomplishment in our book. Negotiations with alters have also been a complex step on our journey as well. We've gotten the question many times on how to negotiate with difficult alters. But negotiations are just that, negotiations. Each situation will be different and each alter will be different. Sometimes there's something the alter wants. That could be as simple as a drawing of them or their own material possession. But it could also be something more complex and emotionally rooted. One of our biggest things is to look for the root of that issue. Aggression from alters and even regular people comes from somewhere. No one is just like that, despite what many may say. It may feel as though there's only darkness in an alter, but that isn't all that life has for them. They may have had only darkness in the past, but that doesn't mean that only darkness lies ahead. Fusion is also something that we've been having extensive experience with over the past couple of years. Not something we really expected. We've had alters break apart and fuse back together, break apart, fuse with others, then fuse with the rest of those parts, and all sorts of combinations. We've had multiple mass fusions of over 100 fragments at a time. We've had like 4 or 5 of those at this point. And we've had fusions that we'd never expected to happen. At first, the idea of fusing seems like it would be a loss of all of the alters involved beforehand. And that's not inherently how it is all the time. Sometimes it's like that, but not always. Kind of like with Devøn and Morpheus, but that was just because of how Devøn had been fragmented worse before the fusion. That one just hurt. Those two are now Dorian, and Dorian is a fantastic alter in the system. He has a different role than the alters that he used to be, but he's still very important in the system and how it works. Sometimes fusing can be a very healing process. It can feel like simultaneously experiencing the world with your fellow alters. It can be like becoming someone new in a rebirth of sorts. It can be creating something new from the pieces you have. Some of our fragments were too damaged to be able to carry on in the outer world. And in order to be able to function, they fused with another alter. Sometimes with another fragment, and sometimes with a fully formed alter. We have a lot of variety in the system, if you can't tell. That's why we created a little questionnaire page out of questions that you all submitted on Instagram. We'll be getting a few of our fused alters to each make a video answering that questionnaire so you can see the variety of fusions within our own system and how their experiences may differ. Another thing we've been dealing with is a predicament with our hosts. You all know what happened to our last long-term host, Devøn. If you don't, please check out some of our previous videos. I'll link one in the description. I can't go into that right now. I don't want to cry today. But we haven't had a solid host for about a year now. Little bit more than that. And that's been an interesting thing to get used to. We don't really have a person to default to, someone to pretend to be when we're all out and about in the world. It may sound like things have been more disorganized, but rather than a host, we've had rotating groups of main fronters. That way the alters who want to front can have a chance to be out in the world if they desire to do so. We've thought about having a set host, but it would be difficult to find an alter strong enough to take that role on. For us, being the host is honestly one of the most painful, strenuous roles of the system. Not gonna lie, we have a lot of chronic pain. The mental exhaustion combined with the chronic illnesses, and then whatever life happens to decide to throw at us, is too much for one of the alters to take on alone for such a long time. So we've been rotating through continuously, and that's actually been working pretty good. We have around 250 known alters at this point, so there isn't much of a shortage when it comes to alters in here. We've been working together in a team, and yes, that's taken a lot of adjustment. But we're learning to function, and it's been really rewarding to look back and see how far we've come. And to answer the questions before they happen, no, our relationship with our partner system was not compromised because of Devøn becoming Dorian. Even though Dorian is gay. Devøn was pansexual and Dorian is not. Rather than leaving our partner system like a superficial hooligan, Max and Dorian found other love interests in each other's systems. Dorian is with Jinx in Max's system and Max is with D5 in our system. Honestly, this change really didn't impact much. Max and Devøn weren't even the first alters to get together between our two systems. That was Grace and Vicky. One relationship won't impact all of the other relationships we have going on. The amnesia barriers are too strong for that. And something else that we've been dealing with a lot during our hiatus was a lot of bullying and judgment. We decided to no longer put any energy into that a while ago. Even into checking in on said bullies now and again. That used to be a bad habit of ours. But we replaced our compulsive internet checks to some extent with creating things that make us happy. And that's made things a lot better. So you don't have to tell us to stop engaging in the drama. We already have stopped. That's why we haven't really been responding to anything that's been out there recently. And we've also decided to stop avoiding editing like it's a bad thing altogether. That was a weird trend that was going on for a while there that just really made things difficult, I'm not gonna lie. This is our life story, and we are the ones choosing how to tell it. We have a variety of types of videos for a reason. Our informational videos are more clean-cut and concise to avoid confusion. Our vlog-like ones are more real, raw, and uncut to show what it's really like to live with this disorder. And some videos are a combination of the two. And some videos we just want to have fun with because why should we strive to spend our life in misery? I don't understand. Because we like to have fun in our life, as humans should. We will not be shamed for us cutting out long pauses and us stumbling over things. That's silly. And in some of our videos, not all, we'll be working with sponsorships. We've connected with a few companies like Skillshare, and we will be putting ads made by us into the end of some videos. Not all, but some. They're more of a way for us to be creative with the kind of content that we make, and we want to be able to have fun with it. They'll be more like brief comedic skits or sketches relevant to whatever topic that we'll be talking about. It does not make you a bad person to want to make money off of being a content creator. That's like saying that an artist is bad for wanting to make money off of their art. That's a little bit silly. This is 2021, almost 2022. That's a very valid source of income at this point. And a very accessible one, too. It doesn't mean that I don't have a disorder because I can get in front of my phone and speak. And we'll let you all know in the beginnings of each video when there's an ad included, because there will not be one in every video, given the topics of some of our content. Yeah, I'm not about to drag Skillshare into our video on RA stuff that we're scripting right now. The programming is something we can't keep silent about any longer either. Learning about the inner workings of how our system actually ran was completely horrifying. I'm not gonna lie. It changed our entire life and how we function in the world, because we really found out what we were, and had to learn how to function again carrying all that knowledge with us. This is somewhat of a hard topic to just talk about, so having prompting questions to guide the discussion is very helpful for us. Questions on this topic are welcome as more awareness needs to be brought to it. We are not speaking about this only for the sake of our own story. We need to share the things that we know in order to help others like us. At one point there was another YouTube channel run by a pair of RA systems, and they specialized in deprogramming other TBMC systems. RA stands for ritual abuse, which is organized intentional abuse, not inherently involving rituals. And TBMC stands for trauma-based mind control, which is essentially classical conditioning enforced and implanted with unreasonable amounts of abuse. Like, basically torture. And the channel about that disappeared. They went silent and all of their videos got taken down. We've been checking in on them every few days or so to see if there's been any updates, but there's been nothing since March. All of their content disappeared, some of which was very helpful even to us, leaving us all without that valuable deprogramming information. We can't leave that space empty. There are too many out there like us, with more discovering themselves every day. We may not be able to provide the exact quality of information that they did, but we can give you something to help you along the road. We do not want others to go through the harrowing steps that we did when it came to rooting through the underside of our system and our programming. We wanted to see how dark and deep this stuff goes, and it turns out that maybe we didn't want to know everything. We didn't want to, but for the sake of ourselves and the others like us, we needed to know how these things were and how they worked, how those people thought when creating us to undo their traps and keep the system from ending itself. To keep ourselves sane, we sometimes jokingly refer to it as a word search of life and death, because honestly, it has been that. We're gonna need more water bear tattoos. If you don't know yet, we get one for each time we could have easily let go and been done with this world, but chose life instead. Because if you're not careful, and even if you're very careful, you may still encounter suicide programming. It can be as bad as it sounds, but it can also be more like an intensive mental resistance hazing, for lack of a better phrase. Well, that's a pretty good way of putting it. Our experience has been the latter, to the extreme bordering the former. But we made it. Us being here, right now, making this video is proof that we made it. But not everyone is like us. There are some people who really, really need to know these things, and we can't leave them hanging. This is too important. If it makes you uncomfortable, we're sorry. But after our brush with death, we can't keep this to ourselves. Don't worry, we'll label every video and trigger warn it extensively, so if you need a warning before that kind of thing, there will be plenty, and you can avoid the topic if necessary. So we'll just have those videos. If you can't watch them, feel free to skip them. We won't be offended, I promise. People are really messed up sometimes. There are people who intentionally give other people DID knowing fully well what they are doing. Our uncle was one of those people, and so were his associates. Try as we might to deny that these things happen, we just keep coming up with more proof that it did. Our system may not make sense to people who are outside of our head because it's not supposed to. We were created intentionally with purpose. And rather than being frozen in horror at what we are, we're trying to see what we can make with this life. Because there is hope for people like us out there. There is, regardless of what you may think at times. There is hope for recovery and healing. I know it may sound far-fetched and terrifying to think that there are altars and systems that hold extreme power over the other altars in the system or the system itself. Some of the gatekeepers we've encountered in our own system could even make any one of us think that we are a singlet. We've encountered an altar whose role is literally to split other altars apart in order to create highly impressionable fragments who will absorb basically any trait they are exposed to and become altars. That's where our fictives come from, if anyone was wondering. I know someone asked at one point. They were fragments which were exposed to certain traits and then imprinted on said traits. And the altar who was behind this was only semi-malicious in their intentions. They were more sassy than anything. They never meant to seriously injure the body, despite sometimes unintentionally locking us in frozen states for days at a time, pretty much. They're actually a very interesting altar who desires to join in more on the outer world. And once they've healed up a little bit more, we're gonna let them. And now for our big announcements, the end of the video, it's time for our announcements. Yeah, this is the first video I filmed on YouTube. I filmed a few TikToks, but that's about it at this point. We do have a TikTok. I guess that can count as an announcement. That's not in our notes, but I'm gonna count it. That's gonna be in the description if you want to follow us there. We're more active simply because it's more accessible for us, given how a lot of us get selectively mute sometimes. It's not very easy. But it's easy to throw text overlays over videos on that app, so that's honestly a good way for creating content for some if some are not able to speak. Now, do you all remember the Infinite Mind Healing Together conference? We went there in, I think, 2019, I want to say. If you haven't heard about it yet, it is a conference about DID, OSDD, and other dissociative disorders, and comorbid disorders that go along with them. There are presentations by doctors, psychologists, and systems alike, all sharing all sorts of information. And we got a table. No, we're not presenting this year. Maybe next year. Maybe. But this year we're bringing our online shop to real life. We'll be bringing with us our arts, crafts, and various knitted goods. And our now wife, the Acrylic Chaser system, will be making lots of journals and crafts for the table as well. We're very excited to be able to spread awareness for dissociative disorders through our art, and we really hope to see you there. Even if you're not interested in shopping, come by and say hi anyway. We'd love to meet you. We are also writing a book. The two of us together on this channel are writing a book, the DID Survival Guide, and that's going to be available this winter on Amazon. It's going to basically be all of the information we know on what DID is, alter roles, how we've learned how to function, other experiences, words from doctors, all sorts of things. It's going to be a very interesting book. And as far as more videos go, we're going to be trying to write up videos during the week and then film them during the weekends to create some sort of a rhythm. We'll see how it goes. It sounds like it could work pretty well. We're going to give it our best shot. Anyway, thank you for watching this far. Thank you for being here, and thank you all for your patience. As always, feel free to ask us anything in the comments. There are no dumb questions. Don't forget to subscribe to become a goblin. Leave us a like and check out those links in the description. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you all in the next video. Sneak peek on the things that we're bringing to the conference. That's not everything at all.